Hi guys, in today's session, what we are going to discuss about is like how we can use MCP and agents to leverage the full potential of the LLM. So as we know, like LLM can be used for generative text. Like in case of infrastructure deployment, we can use LLM to generate the configuration file, for example, Terraform configuration file or the ARM configuration file, and those files can be used to deploy multiple infrastructure in Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, or any other cloud platforms. But now the challenge is it's not a full measure. Like the LLM is being used to generate those configuration files, but we are going after, like after the generation, we are just using those configuration file and manually deploying them into the infrastructure. But what if the Terraform has access to all these tools and it can use this configuration file that it creates to deploy the infrastructure as well? So that's where this MCP and the agents comes in. So the LLM will act as an agent here, like an infrastructure deployment agent, you can say, and it will communicate with multiple MCP tools to deploy and manage the infrastructure. So here in this example, what I've created is like I've created a MCP server, and this MCP server is doing nothing but connecting to Azure, and it has also got the details of the Terraform. So it can use the Terraform configuration code that the LLM is generating, and then the LLM can use this MCP server to deploy that configuration code into the Azure. So let's see with an example. So here, as you can see in the terminal, I'm just asking the LLM like, can you create a new resource group for me in Azure? So assuming like whoever is the user, they don't have any idea about how to use the portal or any Terraform knowledge of how to create the configuration. So you can see the Terraform now is giving you an output like it needs certain optional and certain parameters that are non-optional, like the resource group name and the location. So the LLM knows like to create a resource group Terraform template, what are all the parameters that are needed. So let's give it a name. Resource group name will be rgtest004 and the location will be West US2. So this is the best part of using an LLM, like it communicates with you and it gives you a vibe like it is human. And so now you can see in the screen it has updated a to-do list. So if you give attention to the to-do list, it says like it creates a Terraform configuration file, then deploys the resource group to Azure using the Terraform configuration file, and verifies whether the deployment is successful or not. So that is exactly the thinking pattern that a human DevOps engineer would be doing if they are also trying to build a resource group in Azure. But here the difference is like instead of a DevOps engineer like you and me doing the same thing, it's a LLM who is doing the same thing, and it has also got the access to all the tools that are necessary to do complete the task. So you can see it is just striking through all the tasks once it is getting completed. So it says like it has created the Terraform configuration code. So in the back end, it has already created a Terraform configuration code for that particular resource group that we requested, and then it is deploying the resource group to the Azure. You can see it is running all these commands like Terraform plan command, and soon it will be running the Terraform apply command. So whatever command it is necessary to deploy the resource group into Azure, it is running in the backend using the MCP server, and it will be deploying the resource group soon. And one another best part of this is like uh, it can communicate directly with Azure without any human intervention. So any monitoring kind of activities like any cost monitoring or any resource monitoring, it can directly fetch those information directly from the Azure, and it can create the codes that are necessary to fix those. Like if something is incurring a lot of cost, there is some private endpoints out in loose which is not being used. It can create the configuration code that can use to delete those private endpoint, and it can work automatically. So there is no need for kind of infra management, and all those things can be achieved using these MCP servers that are for this infra deployment. So you can see it is already running the apply stage, and it says that it has completed the stage. Wow. And now it is also running a az command to check whether that resource is already there, and you can see it has listed like there is this resource group created. So let's just verify. So I go to Azure, and if I do a refresh, yeah, you can see this is already there in the West US2 region. So not only this, like if I suppose want to say like can you list me all the resource groups in East US 2, so it can just straight away connect with the Azure with using that MCP server, and list down all the resource groups that are needed to be displayed. So you can see it is trying to run a query into the Azure CLI, and it lists down all the resource groups that are there in the East US 2 region. So we can do it with the Azure CLI, but think of a person who doesn't know Azure CLI, who doesn't know the commands to be run for Azure CLI. So they can just straight away communicate with straight away simple English language, and the LLM will do the things for it. So that's a wonderful thing, and it's not only limited to resource group or any resources. The opportunities are wide. So yeah, I will keep on researching on this, and I will get back to you with further development as and when needed.